Hey, Michael Balestre from Black Snow Comics here. We're already a couple days into June, but I didn't get a chance to make one of these videos reviewing May, so drawing for 5 months now. Let's take a look at what month 5 was like. Did the same thing with the first 4 months, so I guess I'll try to do that for each month till we get to the end of the year. So let's take a look at what I drew. I'll let you know anything I have to say about it. So May 1st, I drew Sonic the Hedgehog. This was after that Sonic trailer came out and looked so terrible to most people, including myself. I thought it didn't look very good. I don't know if just changing the design of the character is going to be enough to make the movie seem really good. I mean, it seems like kind of an old, dated kind of humor with the way they were presenting Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, and just the kind of the tone of it was just like kind of your typical fluffy family movie instead of being something a little more interesting. So I don't know. We'll see what they do now that they've pushed it back a year. But I drew a Sonic, and he's a little bit thicker than you would normally see, which I think it's kind of weird how he has such a tiny body usually. So I just wanted to try drawing something different. I don't know. I've been really continuing on that thing where I'm working on trying not to use much reference and just trying to draw the characters however I see fit, really. Just kind of more from my imagination, get a little more creative with it. So that's what this was. I think it turned out alright. And then I drew Graffiti Man, which is a character that my son came up with. Him and his friend worked on a little bit on a comic of it. And if you want to see these like better, obviously it's just like a little part of your screen, and I'm just kind of telling you a little behind the scenes about them. But if you want to see them better, just go to blacksnowcomic.com, and there's a gallery where you can see all these. That's what I'm looking at. So my son had the idea where his face is hidden in a hoodie. I suggested maybe we give him a gas mask, since that's what a lot of graffiti artists use, and it looks kind of cool. He wanted to be a skateboarder and have a bag with a lot of cans, so he was pretty happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks kind of cool. Then someone had asked I do Jonah Hex. I keep getting cowboy requests, which is cool because I didn't know there's a demand, and of course I like drawing cowboys. I actually have a couple more requests to do that are cowboy related, so we'll get to those. Jonah Hex, disgusting looking face. I really went for it here. He's got his exposed eye, the skin that's melted on. I haven't seen a bunch of Jonah Hex. I mean, I saw the movie. I've seen him pop up here and there. I remember he was on Batman the Brave and the Bold in the cameo, which I thought was a pretty weird one. But cool stuff. And this one I drew traditionally, and I've colored marker and everything with Chewbacca. We were watching a bunch of Star Wars. I think this was probably May the 4th, so it's probably Star Wars Day also. But my son become pretty obsessed with Star Wars, so we were watching it again, and just felt like doing a little Chewbacca. He wants me to draw a few other characters, particular Darth Vader. He's very interested in Darth Vader. Then I let my daughter pick what I drew the next day. Since my son had asked me to draw Chewbacca, so then my daughter... Well, actually, no, this is because I drew Graffiti Man, and then my daughter wanted to make up a character, and I would draw it. So she described to me what this rainbow princess would look like, and I drew that. And this was kind of hard, because I don't usually draw, like, more girly, pretty things, as you probably noticed by now. So this is a little out of my wheelhouse. And I looked at, like, traditional Disney princesses and stuff to help me, like, get an idea where to start, at least. But I thought it looked pretty good. The rainbow dress and makeup's kind of fun. And then Dragon Ball Z, Goku, and I guess when he has the yellow hair, he'd be in his Super Saiyan mode. I don't know a ton about Dragon Ball Z. I watched it a little when it first came out, when anime was kind of taking everyone by storm, but I haven't really kept up with it or anything. But it was fun to draw. I thought this was one of my more successful anime drawings, or manga, or whatever you want to call them. Usually I'm not too happy drawing in that style because I just don't think it looks right when I do it, but this one I think looked pretty good. And he looks pretty angry. And then I forget what this one's called. A Torii, I think. Someone on DeviantArt made a very specific request for this character, which I think they said it was from something called Space Chickens. I don't know. I never heard of whatever it is. I just saw the reference pictures they sent me, and they asked me to draw him falling down a wormhole. So, alright, him or her, I don't even remember. But it was kind of fun to draw just because it's such a weird shape and everything. And it's colorful. So it's an interesting design, and I like the way I drew it falling. It was kind of fun. Reminded me of stuff I would do more as a kid, more dynamic poses like that. I got a very specific, some strange requests from DeviantArt. Here's another one. This is, I forget his name now. Someone from Doctor Who, and from the look of it, it was like an older version of Doctor Who, and they wanted him drawn as a cowboy, and I think he must have appeared as a cowboy in one of the episodes or something, because I found a picture of him as a cowboy. And it's weird too, because when I look up these things that these DeviantArt people request, you could see they request the same thing from a lot of people. So like some of the stuff I look up when I'm just trying to get an idea what I'm drawing, I find other people's drawings for them. So it's kind of a weird phenomenon. Here's a request for Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. This one was, people really liked this one. This is pretty popular. I think it turned out pretty cool. I like Mortal Kombat. I was never that good at it. I'm not like a fighting game guy. I was more into Street Fighter, because that's what I always played at Pizza Hut or wherever, mainly Pizza Hut. But Mortal Kombat's cool too. I was never good at memorizing all the combos and fatalities and stuff though. And then I felt like drawing Dr. Katz. I loved this show back in the day. I watched it with my dad. Had like fun memories of laughing at it together and enjoying it. And it was fun to draw. And one of the reasons I had it on my mind was because I found out on Audible they had basically like another season, but just done in audio form. So that was kind of cool to discover and listen to. And it turned out pretty cool. It doesn't look exactly... Like I said, this is more my interpretations of the character, so I'm not trying to go like make them on model exactly how they looked. Just kind of how I want them to look. So like his head's a little more round here, different things. But that's what makes it mine. Someone saw that and they said, oh, you should draw Brendan Small, which was already kind of on my mind, because if you're familiar with Dr. Katz, then you probably think of the other shows like Home Movies. So this one I really went for it in drawing him in a different style. The original style is very simplistic in a cartoon way, not in a bad way. That's just a style. But I wanted to get it more detailed and maybe a little more, I guess, realistic, even though it's still very cartoony. And then I did the same thing with Linda Belcher for Mother's Day. Bob's Burger is one of our family's favorites to watch together, so this was kind of fun to work on. Although people seemed a little thrown off by what I did to make it my own on this one. Like, oh, the eyes look so different, or I don't know. They had an episode of Bob's Burgers where it featured fan art for the whole episode, and it would switch like every scene to a different artist, and I thought that was really interesting and fun. My daughter, that's one she likes to replay over and over because it's just funny. And then I was feeling like I'd done so much like fan art and requests and stuff. I just wanted to mess around and draw something. So I just sat down with the pen and paper and pencil and just started drawing shapes and kind of like a stream of consciousness type drawing type thing. I just went with what came to mind. So I ended up with a giant kind of caterpillar worm monster. And here's the colored version of that. It wasn't based on any particular thing, although I guess it's somewhat reminiscent of other things. Like I just saw Godzilla yesterday, and when I was watching it, like, oh yeah, Mothra kind of looks like that in its larva form. or Hellboy had some like giant worm monsters in it. They weren't quite like this though. I wasn't trying to base it off of anything. Then I did the same thing the next day, where I drew this kind of lizard dragon guy. Here's the colored version. It was just me kind of messing around with shape and form and whatever came to mind. I did that for a third day and came up with kind of this this fish monster, or it's under like a deep sea type fish. And then people were saying it reminded them of specific things, but it wasn't based on any one thing. I mean, this part here with the light in front, that's an anglerfish. That's a real thing, but people were kind of saying, oh, wasn't that in Finding Nemo? Or my son was saying, well, didn't you draw this before? And I said, I hadn't drawn anything like this. So I don't know. It was kind of weird. And I started experimenting with some of I like this thing where you have kind of round, hollow eyes with these lines underneath. I started messing with that more. It's something that I've always kind of liked. And then the mouth, I had a lot of fun. I was kind of almost going for more like snake fangs and the way that they're sticking out of the gums and everything here. And then I was really mixing like a few different forms. Like, I don't think you'd find a fish exactly like this. He's got almost an eel-like body. The fin shapes are they're not something you would see on an angler or anything like that. So I don't know, I was coming up with different things. I've always been pretty into nature and ocean life in particular. My first job was selling tropical fish. I've done it a couple times actually. So drawing stuff like this interests me. So it was nice to do some original stuff, get a little more creative with everything. So here's another original, just messing around. I hadn't drawn anything with just pencil, and I hadn't really done any shading. So that's what this was more about. And again, I just started with the shape and kind of went from there. And the shape I had started with was playing with those eyes and that idea of having all the lines kind of surrounding the eyes to make up the eyes. And it just kind of went from there. Then this one, my son's birthday, really wanted me to draw Jeffie from Super Mario Logan. Pretty popular, pretty stupid thing on YouTube. Not a fan at all, but I did it for him, so happy birthday to him. He thought the body looked weird. My son's a pretty harsh critic. And then this is a request for a Freakazoid, and this was really fun and like came really naturally to me. And when I was kind of like far into it, I realized it's because it's pretty similar to the lone wolf that I've been drawing all these years. And when I showed it to my wife, I said, you know who this is? And she said, oh, isn't that the lone wolf? I said, no. This guy's blue, he's wearing red, but it's close enough that she's like, that was her first thought. So if you don't know the lone wolf, it's one of my original characters that pops up in my comics. But Freakazoid, yeah, I hadn't thought about that guy or that cartoon in a long time. And this one was really fun and easy to draw. I'm finding it like going back to more cartoony things comes easier now after focusing on slightly more realistic or more comic book type things. Then I had a request for Patrick Star, and I just wanted to draw him in all his kind of stupid glory. I'm a pretty big SpongeBob fan. I've liked it since it came out. My kids are into it. So this was fun to draw. It wasn't based on any particular thing. It's just how I pictured him. I drew this while watching a movie, and I was kind of basing it off a character in that movie. But about halfway through, I realized it didn't look enough like the character to really like tell people. I didn't want to tell people who the character was because I didn't think it turned out. So, but I didn't want to start it over either. So I was just like, well, let's just finish it. We'll focus on the technique of it and have fun drawing it. And I asked people to guess, but no one guessed. So if you have a guess, tell me who you think this is. What character from what movie? But I did like the way it turned out. That's a funny face he's making. I like the style of this one. And this was from Overwatch, a character named Genji in his specific like Power Rangers skin that he has. So Sentai is like the generic version of that, I guess, or what they call it in Japan. So that's what this is. It's kind of fun to draw. Someone asked me to draw the ring, the girl from the ring, so I did that. This is like that other one. This is another one where it's traditional. Why did I start drawing a little more traditional? I don't know. I guess I just missed it. Also, it's nice because I could go do it on the couch and hang out with my family while we watch something while I draw it, versus I'm kind of tethered to this tablet here. It has to be hooked up to my computer. I don't have kind of a nice mobile tablet that's independent of a computer. So that's another reason. And then the next day, I just felt like coming up with something, and I guess I was thinking about the day before with the ring, or I don't know why, but I just decided to draw Blackeyed Children, which, if you've ever heard kind of folk tales with Blackeyed Children, it's pretty creepy stuff. So this is kind of my very cartoony version of them. And then this was a leftover request from Spider-Man week, which I still have a lot of, so I'll probably do another Spider-Man week. But this is for Miles Morales, but in a chibi style, which is like the squat, cute, big-headed character versions. It's a Japanese thing, so I've never been too into chibi, but this one I thought turned out cool. This is Detective Pikachu. I got a couple requests for this, and I didn't get to see the movie. My wife took the kids while I watched the baby, but this was kind of fun to draw, although again, my son's like, what's with the face? And my daughter was really laughing at it. I don't know, I thought it turned out good. Like I said, these are supposed to be like my spin on the characters. I mean, if I really wanted to draw Pikachu exactly as he appears, I can. I was doing that in high school. Along those lines, someone requested Dib from Invader Zim, and this one I really wanted to try to make it something more along what I would draw, so I switched it up quite a bit. I think it's still recognizable as a character, but obviously like a pretty different take on the character. And then I didn't do it as strongly with Gurr, which was another request. I drew him in his regular form and then his dog form. Yeah, tried to make it silly. Like, usually if you see something like this, it's more done in a dramatic way. Like, you'll see Bruce Banner hunched down walking forward and then Hulk big in the background. So it started to play off that idea. It didn't really work that well on that level, but I think it's a good drawing. And then here's Zim, my take on Zim. And again, I tried to make it more my own. I mean, it's a pretty distinct style though, so you don't want to... I wanted to have it recognizable enough, but also make it my own. So it's a little tricky. And then the last thing of the month, this is a leftover request from Batman week, and this is the Clock King. And this guy's appeared really different in different cartoons or comics or different forms of media, and this one is pretty clearly based off the Batman the Animated Series from the 90s. That was a pretty big thing for me as a kid. I didn't really read comic books, so my main exposure to comic books was Batman the Animated Series and Spider-Man, and a little bit of the X-Men cartoon also. But the cartoons were kind of my gateway into comic books and made me see like what's cool about them, what I enjoyed about them, and later spurred me on to start reading them. So that was it for the month. It was a pretty solid month. Definitely there was days where I didn't feel like drawing much. I tried to draw something a little different or a little easier. That's also part of the reason why I started drawing a little more original stuff and just wanted to do something different. Because, I don't know, I do something for too long, then I feel like I'm in a rut, and I feel a little bored from it. So it's my attempt to change it up and keep it interesting for me, and hopefully for whoever's following along. So, we're still rolling on. I'm a couple days into this month, and I'm in a Five Nights at Freddy's week, so My son's very excited about that. My kids are obsessed with it, so I guess in next month's video I'll go into that because I'll have a week's worth of characters and drawings for that. So I'm working on the marionette right now. So that's it, I guess. Until next time.